welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle as to strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
A very good morning to you and welcome to Global Morning here on Global Television. Well, it's a good time to be alive, especially within the various political transitioning and processes and development that we're seeing across the country, in Africa and by extension around the world. Well, my name is Godwin Sunday. Well, this morning we'll talk about a lot of things even on Global Morning this, but we'll begin the conversation by first x-raying all the angle of the conversation around the president of Nigeria and the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's conversation and the declaration yesterday that saw the suspension of Governor Fubara Siminalayi of Rivers State and also all the members of the State House of Assembly, excluding the judicial arm, that is the judiciary will still be functioning. But all of this, we will try to look at it. Of course, the People Democratic Party have come out to kick against the position of the president, even in this conversation, even in this whole process. Of course, the Nigerian Bar Association have also come out to speak on the constitutionality of the president's action. But the All Progressive Congress have given the president a thumbs up for doing what is right for Nigerians to be safe. While people are saying that the president, relying on Section 305 of the Nigerian Constitution as amended, 1999 as amended, that we forgot that there's also a section in Section 188 of that same Constitution that gives right and privilege, and a lot of this conversation will be coming up in the course of the day because we'll be digging in on these issues. While all people are also saying that a state of emergency has been declared in Rivers State at the moment, why don't you also declare state of emergency in Osun State? Well, will the president yield to that advice and declare state of emergency in Osun State? Well, the days ahead, we'll get to find out what's going to happen even in Osun State. But the other flip side of the conversation is that first, there is this, so where two elephant fights, the grass suffers. We've seen the FCT minister, the person of Nyesom Wike, come out to openly confront the governor. We've seen that. We saw a press media parley chat which he had, and he discussed, had a lot of conversation, even that borders on Rivers State crisis. One would have expected that the president would have taken action, decisive action first to the FCT minister and then to Governor Fubara and the Rivers State House of Assembly by creating a form of balance and allowing the matters to get some form of fair hearing. But then we didn't see that happen. But hopefully in the days to come, we're going to see the president take a decisive action on that. What people are saying at this point that the president was biased by not looking at the flip side of the coin. Other people are also saying that, well, Rivers State, former Rivers State governor, the person of Nyesom Wike, is not based in Rivers State. It's, of course, is a minister of the Federal Capital Territory. So his decisions or indecision have nothing to do with the good people of Rivers State. So his influence is has little or no effect on the state. But that's opinion of people. But then again, not forgetting also that we have Oyetola, also who was the former governor for Osun State. We've listened to Oyetola give out instructions on various accounts to the All Progressive Congress members in Osun State, and we've seen what has played out, even causing a lot of local government rift in Osun State. So many quarters, said this is a calculated attempt by the All Progressive Congress in order to destabilize PDP strongholds, in order to ensure that the All Progressive Congress is able to capture the South, the River State, and also that of Osun State. But how correct is this? We will be looking at all of this in the course of the conversation. Of course, we'll be joined by the CUPP chairperson also in the course of the day to look at this. Of course, we'll have a political analyst to also give us a political perspective in the course of the show. It's going to be a very rich and robust morning, because we'll be looking at every side of the divide, every side of the conversation, in order to help you make informed decision, and not just looking at it. We'll go in depth to ensure that we bring all stakeholders that are involved in this conversation. But if time permits us today, we will also get to talk with Pandef to know what's the position of the people of the Niger Delta, even on this conversation, knowing fully well that they've threatened a lot of Niger Delta group, especially within the Ijaw extraction, have threatened fire and brimstone should anything happen to Governor Siminalayi Fubara. If anything happens to him, if he's been impeached, or any political tension affects his political aspirations and also his political agenda, that they will spill fire and brimstone. We saw what the Igbesus said, that they will shock Tinubu. A few days after that, we saw the bomb blast in River State, vandalization of oil pipelines in River State. Of course, no group have come out to claim responsibilities for that action. But then we'll begin to x-ray that from the perspective of Pandef, what's going on in River State, what's going on in the Niger Delta. What are the Ijaw people saying? Are they going to shield their sword? Are they going to come out for protest? Of course, as at yesterday, we understand that a lot of the Ijaw people have already started speaking up against the president's action. But all of this conversation, we'll try to put them in perspective even this morning. Like I said before, it's going to be a very robust show this today. It's going to be a very lofty package, and of course we'll leave no stone unturned to ensure that we give you every angle of the story. Of course, that's what we're known to do best, even here on Global Television. We'll begin the conversation first by going through the newspaper review after this break. Please stay with us as Global Morning continues in a moment.
Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know? Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
We'll be delving right away into the newspaper and reviews even of this morning. But of course, I will be doing this alone. It's a fully packed program this morning. I'm being joined by Mr. Ezima James. You're welcome to Global Morning.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure doing this newspaper review with you because a lot of things that we did too, we're talking about even on the newspapers today. All right, so let's begin with the first newspaper for today. We'll begin with the first newspaper, and this is coming from the Blueprint. The Blueprint here says, just above its nameplate, it says, PDP, CBN, INEC among losers in Wike's Abuja's land revocation, I beg your pardon. All right, so you can find that story on page 7 of the blueprint, just above its nameplate. Just below its nameplate here, we have a story here, say, rainstorm renders 100-year-old grandma orders homeless in Ekiti. Rainstorm renders 100-year-old grandma orders homeless in Ekiti. You can go out there and get yourself a copy of the Blueprint newspaper. Of course, you can find that on page 13 of the Blueprint newspaper. All right, so we have a story here again that says UBA launches AfriGo card to promote accessibility. You can find that story on page 25. We have a story here that says NFF, that's on sport. NFF charges Super Eagles to beat Rwanda, Zimbabwe. An interesting game it's going to be, but we'll see how that charge will work for the Super Eagles, knowing full well also that Rwanda and Zimbabwe are not going to also fold their arms and allow the Super Eagles beat them. But we wish the Super Eagles all the best, even as they receive a charge from the NFF. All right, so we have a story here just beside the Star story. Says FAC disbursed 15.26 trillion naira to federal, state, local government in 2024. You can find that story also to know how much was disbursed and it has been used so far. Now there's a Star story here that says state of emergency. Rivers joins Plateau Ekiti in Nigeria's 26 years of democracy. It comes with the rider. Fubara deputy lawmakers suspended for 6 months in first instance. The second rider says Tinubu names ex-CNS Ekwe IBAS administrator. The comes with another rider said NAS duly consulted, says rep spokesman. All right, that's the Star story there. They have a story here that says Nigerian mangrove island annexed by Cameroon, Senate alert. Just at the foot of the paper here, that's the blueprint, we have NAF airstrikes destroy terrorist command center in Mandra Mountain. I'm still speaking of Cameroon. That's coming from the Blueprint newspaper. And up next is the Nation's newspaper. The Nation's newspaper, where we have House of Rep passes tax bills reforms. That's just above the nameplate. It says House of Rep passes tax reforms bills. You can find that read on page 5 of the news of the Nation's newspaper. Also, just beside that story, we have reinstated Osun Council chairman get Algon's backing. Reinstated Osun Council chairman gets Algon's backing. All right, we'll see how that plays out. Okay, so you can find that read on page 26 of the Nation's newspaper. Bills to regulate social media skills second reading in Senate. Page 5 of that of the Nation's newspaper. You find that read on page 5 of the Nation's newspaper. Okpebo law to probe Obaseki over $10 million observers fund. Page 26 of the Nation's newspaper. It comes to the Star story here. Okay, before the Star story, I have a story here that says Senate probes alleged annexation of Nigerian territories by Cameroon. You find that story on page 5 of the Nation's newspaper. The Star story here says Fubara Amule gone with Tinubu's emergency declaration. It comes with a rider that says IBAS is Rivers administrator for 6 months. Breaking of export terminal pipelines triggers invocation of section 305. All right, so let's even begin the conversation here in the studio. Let me bring the conversation back to you, Mr. Ezima. First, you've seen nearly all national dailies right now talking about the Rivers State conflict. But generally, let's take it from the Nation's perspective, which says that it was due to the fact that there was pipeline vandalization. That was what triggered the president to invoke Section 305 of the Constitution. But first, what do you make of the Rivers State developments?
Well, the River State development is an unfortunate situation that I think ordinarily we should not have had it if our politicians were ready to play by the rules. If our politicians were ready to, work by democratic principles. Some of our people are, these are our political elites. They have a way they deal with issues. They deal with issues selectively as it pleases them. So this is not even the first time that we are going to have this kind of crisis in Rivers State. You remember under the Rotimi Amaechi era, there was also a kind of a 4 or 5 men a state assembly that even this current speaker Amaule was one of the members of that minority assembly members in the state who also worked with the then governor and all that. So there was no state of emergency declared, or there was everything was allowed to follow due process, despite the fact that at the time the PDP was in office. So it is unfortunate that we got to this level, and it's something that should have been avoided. And I believe that we shouldn't have gone this way. The president must have looked at it from a perspective that probably meets his party's aspirations. But as constitutionally, no, the president got it wrong.
Constitutionally, the president got it wrong. We'll come back to that conversation. Let's even look at this other big story here. As says PDP, CBN, INEC, NUC, NNPCL, others lose plot of land in Abuja. Now, this is a very interesting read even this morning. But what do you make of this story right now?
It is something that should send a message to every individual. Yes, when a government takes action that is right, it should be commended, because I don't see the reason why you will know the statutory, revenue that's supposed to come to the government, and you are withholding that revenue. And from the letter that was sent to one of the parties whose property that was revoked, you will see that there have been series of publications, telling them, if you have not paid your land tax, you should make sure that you do that. And I don't know why, this thing is in our blood as citizens. Most times Nigerians will want to do things at the dying minute, at the time when it has become a very precarious situation. That's when we now find ourselves running from pillar to post, trying to do the right thing that we would have done long ago. So I think it will serve as a deterrent to some people who think that they shouldn't follow what is the laid down rules. It harsh as it may be, but sometimes a decision has to be taken. And if a decision is taken when due processes are followed, fine. I don't see any problem with that. But if the people have any objection, they still have the courts, to seek redress.
All right. If it was for just PDP, we'll say that it was a political witch hunting by the All Progressive Party, that this is going to suffer this revocation.
Sure.
But then we are having here CBN, we are having INEC, we are having NUC, and we are having the NNPCL.
Yes.
Will this revocation hold water? And what's the implication of this whole revocation? To say that you're revoking INEC's plots, that is, they're going to shut down INEC's headquarters. That's the implication. So automatically
they can go for a rented place. If,
so INEC can relocate to a rented place. Okay, so if you shut down CBN CBN will also go to a rented
They
apartment.
can also go to a rented apartment.
Okay, so when you shut down, it is quite interesting. So
because let's face the fact, if as a responsible agency of government, you are supposed to live by example. You are supposed to live by example. You cannot have revenue. That's what we are having in this country, whereby you see that some of these agencies are withholding statutory allocation that's supposed to go to the government. They will withhold some of those things for years, and you discover that sometimes when there is issues that come up that required a probe, you see them trying to find a way to sort the thing behind the scene and things like that, and at the end of the day nothing will happen. But probably they thought that that it's going to be business as usual, but unfortunately for them, a new sheriff is in town and he has done what he's supposed to do.
So my fear right now is hope that the CBN in turn will not begin to scout for tax invasion by the FCT authority.
That is what, if it happens,
then the INEC too will not begin to search for missing documents that they could not find all these years in Wiki's administration. And also, because this thing is, one person will begin to see it like an abuse of power. These are all governmental agencies, whether we like it or not. You're all serving the interest of the people. So, are there no way that they can undo this particular issue without total revocation of these lands? If it's just for PDP, we'll say, okay, it's a mutual understanding. Okay, the All Progressive Congress might not be happy with the People's Democratic Party's decision. But right now, looking at all of this, won't it boomerang?
I don't think it will boomerang. There will be any boomerang anywhere, because if you look at it critically, if you are owing a land rent for over 10 years, I don't think should anybody actually be reminded to pay what.
But they should have they can resolve this from the top. Probably before you send them the allocation for the year or for the month, you take your tax from it and ensure that whoever is supposed to get that money, I've gotten the money. So you don't need to get to this point. We know a lot of government agencies are also owing.
If the law permits you to do a deduction from the source, that's when you can do that. But in this instance, I don't think the law permits anybody to take that kind of action where you deduct from the source in order to remedy whatever that is not done properly by the agency. So I think the thing they are going to do is that everybody should learn a lesson. Probably they will now want to go and find a way to settle whatever that they are owing the FCTA. So the Federal Capital Development Authority don't need to develop the state with their own bare hands. They need money. They need revenue. So, and if the revenue is in the hands of some individuals, they one way or the other, they have to get it. And if they can't get it, they will act according to what is written in the laws. So the Land Use Act has vested the powers on the state governors or the FCT minister in the case of the Federal Capital Territory. So, and he says he has acted based on the powers vested on him by the Land Use Act, and because these people have perpetually defaulted in remitting this revenue to the government. So it is, if anybody feels aggrieved, I think the best thing the person needs to do is to approach the courts and seek redress.
Approach the court and not approach the street.
I don't think the street is the best.
No, lately, the kind of protest you get in Abuja is only lately you get pro-Nigerian and anti-Nigerian protests. It's only in Nigeria we find lately where you see people protesting against you protesting.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting. I hope that they will not occupy Abuja with 1,400 plus.
I don't know how are you going to now occupy the streets when you know that you are in default? When injustice is meted out, that's when you see that people want to come out and air their grievances and things like that. But in this instance, I think the best option for anybody who feel aggrieved is to go to court.
Go to court if you are aggrieved. Well, let's look at the paper. Let's move on. At the bottom, at the foot of the Nation's newspaper, we have court dismisses NNPC's objection to Dangote's suit on import license. Well, we'll look at that story because a lot of newspapers also captured that. So let's move on to Nigerian's News Direct newspaper this morning. Above its nameplate captures Lagos State receives Dangote Foundation donation of 80,000 bags of rice. Data Protection Act scales second reading in Senate. TCN embarks on upgrade of Agbara 1132/33 kV transmission station. UBA launches AfriGo card. Mba flags off construction of 141 roads, pledges unwavering commitments to Enugu's growth. The star story here says Obi PDP order kicks as Tinubu suspends Fubara deputy National Assembly for 6 months. With a rider, appoints former naval chief as Rivers State administrator. PDP rejects emergency rule, says it undermines democracy. Tinubu is rehearsing for 2027, Bode George. That's, you can find that read on page 22. Of course, that's on nearly all national dailies. But then there's this reoccurring story that's been even on most of the papers that we've gone through this morning. The first 2 papers, rather. We have that of Data Protection Act scales second reading in the Senate. Of course, you've been following that social media band and also saying that now bloggers should have an office where they operate. And but look at all of this. What do you make of these stories?
Is bloggers having an office? Well, it depends on the office they are talking about. Is it a virtual office or a physical office?
We're yet to, yeah, go ahead, please.
And then if a blog they are to have office, then a blogger that is operating in the United States will now come and open office in Nigeria before he can now so people can access his or her blog. You know, some of these laws are certain laws. They are part of those laws that sometimes when you make them, implementing them becomes impossible. And sometimes, most times, some of these things come out of a plot, to gag free speech. And that's one of the reasons why you see that some of these things come up from time to time. We are still, battling with the Cybercrime Act that has now become an instrument for gagging people. If you just make a comment and they don't like your face, they will now go and charge you to court for criminal defamation under this and then call it cyberbullying and all kinds of things under this Cybercrime Act. And all what they do is that because the law vested bail on that by the act, vested the bail, the amended act vested the bail on the judge, the discretion of the judge, to give you bail. So if peradventure the judge does not like your face, probably he looked at you and said, this one, I don't even know, his name seems to be one of those people that took the land from my forefathers, and then he would decide to keep you in jail perpetually. Or probably some of the accused person who may have reached out and say, okay, just help me and keep him or her in the perpetual detention. That is injustice, and I don't think the act should have vested the bail, the decision for the court to grant bail on the judge, because he should expressly have stated that it's an ordinarily a bailable offense. So in case of defamation is a bailable offense, but when people come, they exploit some of these lacunas in our laws and use it for their own benefit. And that is the reason why most times we have crises here and there in the country, because people have long bottled this perception of injustice, that is bottled up over the years, and sometimes a little thing that does not require somebody to overreact will lead to certain reaction that will become very bad for the country. So we should begin to think about justice and not about criminalizing everything and anything that we see. So you cannot be talking about an organization that is operating virtually to must now have an office. How are you going to give the person part of the money to rent the office if he doesn't have? I don't understand. So somebody that is probably just trying to start a virtual business that is running it from his or her home or from anywhere, you will not require the person to now have an office because the person has to. If the person had the money, he will go for it. It doesn't even require you to come and ask the person. But if the person doesn't have the money, the law should also provide for those who don't have the money to rent an office, that the government should be able to provide them an office where they will operate from.
So, Izima, recall we had this same bill proposed by the former Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed. It was almost a similar bill that even led to Twitter being banned.
Yes.
And if you look at it critically, we also have the ICPC Act, we have the EFCC Act, and in the southern part of Nigeria, we have the Criminal Code. Yes. And we also, in the northern part of Nigeria, we have the Penal Code. Yes. Now, all of this put together seems like a replication of functions, even in the Act. The only difference between this Act is that the EFCC Act has forfeiture. It gives room for forfeiture, which most politicians have leveraged upon to be able to escape the long arm of the law. But then again, we've seen like you've mentioned, some of the acts that has been even proposed, that have been enacted by the National Assembly. This one seems like another duplication of function, which is like the EFCC Act, the ICPC Act, and the Criminal Code, Penal Code, almost the same. And we're having this particular act. So I'm curious at this point, is this law as it stands right now, is it necessary? The Data Protection Act, is it necessary as a people? Is it a pressing need for us right now to talk about this? Why are we not talking or having a conversation around fusing, or to use the word amalgamate, the already established law that guides the internet and fuse this into it so that we can have one robust law? Like you talked about implementation. Of course, a duplicate law might not be fully implemented. Is this conversation, is this law even necessary at this point?
In this climate, it's so unfortunate that we make law about everything. Everything we must make law about them. You see, where you make law, you want the society will be governed by all kinds of law. Every issue you have at hand, you have to make a law. You don't make laws like that in a society. It's because we don't want to actually follow the due process in doing things. Most times, the government of the day may think that the following this law that is already an established a pattern for dealing with a particular issue may be slow. So they will now want to enact a new law, duplicating the laws that had been there, just to insert one or two clauses that will now give them that room for them to be able to get whatever they have as their interest. And it's unfortunate that we are having this kind of duplications. It's just like as we have today, you have the Federal Road Safety Corps. They are collecting biometric data. You have the INEC, they are collecting biometric data. You have the telecom operators, they are each of them. Every telecom operator has to collect biometric data. Why is it that we cannot have a central data system where with your NIN, you can easily sort out some of these things? You have international passport, you have driver's license, you have voter's card, you have these are duplication of several issues that ordinarily supposed not to be. Because with your NIN, you are supposed to be able to sort out anything that has to do with your personal identification, because this is actually your personal identification number. So you are supposed to, there's no need for us to be duplicating some of these things, because they are a waste of resources. Every agency is carrying out data capturing and things like that. The same data that was captured by if you want to now go for your international passport, they will still come and ask you to come and capture. Yes, you have to do a fresh capturing, even though they have your NIN number, your national identification number is there. Even they would have to insert it in your passport as it is today. But at the end of the day, they will still want you to come and capture. Meanwhile, some of these biometric information is already on within the NIN platform. So what is the essence of you wasting your time, wasting your energy, and spending money to go and start capturing something that has already been captured by a government agency? So we should be able to work towards integrating some of these things to reduce some of these duplications, and it's in virtually every part of the our national life. We have all manner of duplications that make things very, very difficult for citizens to live their life, as it's supposed to be. So I don't think that law is very necessary. It's just because we don't want a situation whereby we will follow due process and do the right thing. And that is just the situation that we have found ourselves.
Unfortunate situation, it seems. So let's delve into the next paper because of the want of time. Vanguard newspaper, it says Dangote meets Edun on Naira for crude deal. Business environment, as business above the nameplate of the Vanguard newspaper. Said lawyers, Atiku George orders false emergency rule declaration. We've looked at that story. It says here also bill mandating Facebook bloggers orders to have offices in Nigerian passes second reading in Senate. All right, so we have a story here. Delta Governor, oil ministers orders for Vanguard's local contents conference in Warri today. The Star story here says tension as Tinubu declares state of emergency in Rivers State. That's almost replicated in all the national dailies. Here it says Tinubu lacks power to suspend the governor, PDP. FG confirms 400,000 tuberculosis cases in Nigeria. Here we say Wiki revokes land housing PDP's new National Secretariat complex. Revocation attempt to silence opposition, PDP. Sports, Chile reads riot act to Super Eagles. Okay, maybe it's a war. I don't know if it's a war zone right now. There's a riot act right now in football. It's fair. All right, so you go out there and get yourself a copy of the Vanguard newspaper to stay abreast with what's going on across the country. Let's get punchy this morning. It says FG deducts state's 800 billion allocations to pay foreign debts. Attacks on disco, Nigerian military is lawless. Okay, that was what happened a couple of weeks ago. So we have a story here that says fuel import, NNPC loses bid to stop Dangote's 100 billion suit. Finally, reps pass Tinubu's 4 tax bills. You need to go out there and get yourself a copy to know what's going on, even in that bill. Of course, soldiers, tanks move into Rivers government house. That was very fast. If you ask me, MBA lawyers say suspension illegal. PDP LP Atiku Pandef slams Tinubu. National Assembly to debate President's state of emergency today. Fubara blames pro-Wiki lawmakers. Ibas takes over. Says Wiki versus Fubara government assembly members turbulence road to suspension. Libya to deport over 170 Nigerians. That's quite huge. Porting 9 mobile accused of blocking subscribers from switching operators. Mubarak's father asked court to squash legal advice, free Naira Marley. National Assembly probes Cameroon's illegal encroachment in Nigerian's island. And let's quickly look at the last paper for this morning. Lamido, that's going to the This Day newspaper. Lamido to El Rufai, personal grievances should not be by basis for Tinubu's removal. Lamido's to El Rufai, that's above the nameplate. Obasanjo laments decline in value, says kidnappers, others, now traditional rulers. This day, newspaper, the Star story here says Fubara frustrating budget presentation. 27 lawmakers claim as Rivers crisis festers. All right, so you can go out there and get yourself a copy of the Rivers State to know what's going on in Rivers State. I think we can still take this last paper here, which is just Daily Trust newspaper. World leaders films as Israel strikes kill over 400 in Gaza. Revocation of our land plots to stifle opposition PDP. 33 killed in Edo road crashes in 2 months. Tinubu erred by removing Fubara deputy lawyers. All right, you can go out there and get yourself a copy. Tuberculosis kills 71,000 Nigerians in 1 year. Well, you can go out and get yourself a copy to know what's going on across the country, even as it stands right now. But I wish we can delve into more stories, even as it borders on Nigeria. But our time is fast spent. The story I wanted us to look at was the story of FG deducts states 800 billion allocations to pay for foreign debt. Now,
you see, one of the major challenge with our foreign debt profile is that some of these debts are actually incurred by the state. Yes, I know that the former administration, the administration of former President Muhammad Buhari went on a borrowing spree, borrowing at every slightest opportunity that also may have led to what they have been, talking about our crude oil being sold in advance to service and to pay back some of these loans. But the bulk of, if you check the data, you see that the bulk of these monies are actually monies that are owed by the state. And the federal government in some instance will guarantee some of these loans, and because of that, you don't expect that the federal government will continue to service debts that they didn't directly owe. So that is, I don't think since some of these governments are not ready to pay. You see, that's one of the problems that we have with our leaders. Why should you take that foreign loan and some of them domestic loans, and you will take the loans and you will not pay back? And as a government, it is something that shouldn't be, and that deducting it from the source is part of the responsibility of the federal government to clear some of these things and then be able to have a clean slate, and reduce the debt servicing payments that is being made. And in the last count, I think the amount of money they have been using to service some of these loans are coming down. So, and it's good for them to deduct and repay some of these loans to reduce the debt servicing, the amount that is spent on debt servicing, because actually at a point it was consuming almost 90-something% of our revenue just to service debt, and that is not good for the country.
I know a lot of governors will not be happy even as it stands right now.
Yeah, nobody is happy to pay back loans.
A lot of governors will not be happy. Even listening to you this morning, they'll be sad because this will really affect a lot of revenue. But this is how far we can go on the newspaper review this morning. I want to say thank you so much, Mr. Ezima James, for being with us this morning for the newspaper review. All right, we'll go for a short break, and up next is AM News. Please go nowhere as Global Morning continues in a moment.
know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
On the Global TV AM News, reps to probe Standard Organization of Nigeria (SON) over substandard building materials. In business, ECOWAS seeks stronger regional response to food crisis. On the foreign scene, 330 killed in Israel renews hospitality in Gaza. In sport, Messi injured as Argentina seeks to seal World Cup place. Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Godwin Sunday. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. You can download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcasts. And now to the news in details. Former Minister of Finance Kemi Adeosun has urged President Bola Tinubu to appoint a national export advisor to drive reforms and boost Nigerian export sector. Adeosun made the call during a keynote address at the Nigerian Export-Import Bank's International Women's Day Conference in Team for All Women Rights, Equality, Empowerment held in Abuja. She noted that Nigerians' exports to GDP ratio stood at 9.2% compared to other African countries, adding that Nigeria did not need to reduce its imports into the country, but rather increase its imports. The House of Representatives passed the 4 tax reforms bills transmitted to the National Assembly in October 2024 by President Bola Tinubu. Recall that the House had on Thursday last week considered and approved the report of the House Committee on Finance, which made some recommendations, particularly in controversial areas such as the value-added tax and inheritance tax. While awaiting the Senate to similarly pass the bills, the proposed reforms are expected to be transmitted to the President for his assent in the days ahead. The President of the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PEGASIN, Festus Osifo, has demanded that Sterling Oil and Gas Company must disengage the over 10,000 Indian expatriates currently employed at the company and replace them with qualified Nigerians seeking job opportunities in the oil and gas industry. Our correspondent Ramsin Enoch reports.
The PEGASIN president, during a press briefing in Abuja, alleged that these practices were designed to get around Nigerian labor laws, which require companies to prioritize Nigerian workers unless there is a clear and substantiated shortage of local skills. Osifo explained that the primary issue lies in the fact that these expatriates are taking jobs that could easily be performed by qualified Nigerians, especially in low-skill positions.
If other companies, the IOCs, the indigenous producers, they are all complying with our laws, they are all complying with our regulations, Sterling cannot be an exception. Sterling cannot be bigger than Nigeria. Sterling management cannot be bigger than Nigerians. As we have highlighted last week, and we have strongly, we strongly believe in this. We know that that is exactly what is happening. We have said last week that as of today, we have over 10,000 Indians that are working in Sterling. And majority of these people, they are doing middle and low level jobs. These are jobs that Nigerians should do. These are jobs that today we have Nigerians littering the streets. These are the jobs that they should be doing. But instead, we have Indians doing these jobs. Jobs such as welders, jobs such as vulcanizers, jobs such as gatemen, jobs such as even cooks, jobs such as communication, jobs such as panel operator are all carried out by Indians. If you go to the other IOCs, you could see that the Indian to Nigeria ratio is less than 2%, in some cases not more than 5%, in some cases, most especially in the upper management. Because they are the shareholders, we cannot say that they will not have representative in Nigeria at all. So, in the upper management in most of these companies, you have up to 5% of those manning those strategic positions as the investors. But a situation where you have the entire operations manned by Indians, and most of these are not even qualified. Most of them don't even have secondary school certificates. But they are manning our jobs in a country that literally we are looking for jobs. In a country where the unemployment rate continuously is on the upward trajectory. So for us, we said no, we will never accept these anymore.
CIFO further called on authorities to rise to the occasion, noting that the operation of other expatriates has been within the confine of the laws and regulations guiding the entire process, stating that if nothing is being done, they will shut down the oil company and embark on a national strike.
In this case, don't you think government should act? So there shouldn't be any conversation at all. I'm wondering the meeting we are going today, what they are going to tell us. Because when you move and go, I've challenged them in national television that let's go to Kwale, let's go to the area of operations and tell us, show us the roll call of people that are working in your operations, people in your control room, show us. We go there and see those that are manning those operations. They are very easy. But before we get there, maybe to Eastern Obolo, to Uyo, to where they operate, they may want to quickly move away the Indians and bring Nigerians in. But we understand the game. We have worked in few locations. We will sit there for 4 hours. Those plans will shut down. Those plans will shut down because we know that the people that may be there are not the people who rightly operate those things. In fact, let them go and interview Nigerians that are working in Sterling. So if we have done all these and nothing is done, we will declare a national strike.
Pengassin have said they will follow this case to the end of it, as over 10,000 Indians are working in Sterling, while Nigerians are roaming the streets looking for jobs, seeking employment. As it has been clearly stated by the president of Pengassin, it has been said that some persons are behind the coming in of Indians to work in Nigeria. But Pengassin have taken it upon themselves to do the needful to ensure that these Indians leave while Nigerians will have the opportunity to work in their own country, as it has been done in other climes around the world.
The House of Representatives resolved to probe allegation about Standard Organization of Nigerians' reversal of its decision to shut down 18 companies found wanting in the production and distribution of substandard building materials, especially manufacturers in iron rods. The resolution of the House followed the adoption of a motion of urgent public importance sponsored by Edo lawmaker Billy Osawuru. Osawuru, a member of the All Progressive Congress, urged the House to ask SON to do everything possible to eliminate fake products, particularly building materials, from the Nigerian market and to ensure only quality products find their way to markets nationwide. The Oyo State House of Assembly has suspended the chairman of Saki East Local Government Area, Emmanuel Adedokun, over allegations of gross misconduct. The suspension, which takes immediate effect, was announced during the Assembly's plenary following a petition submitted by 11 members of the People's Democratic Party in Saki East. The petitioner accused Adedokun of repeatedly disregarding directives from Governor Seyi Makinde since assuming office. An explosion has rocked the Trans-Niger pipeline at Bodo Gokana local government area of Rivers State. The affected section of the major pipeline is currently on fire, though the exact cause of the explosion remains unknown at the time of filing in this report. Authorities have yet to determine whether the incident resulted from the human interface, especially amid recent threats by militant groups to attack oil installations in response to the federal government's withholding of Rivers State's allocation due to the ongoing political crisis. The All Progressive Congress chairman of Benue State, Benjamin Omali, has reaffirmed the importance of almsgiving during the holy period of Ramadan and Lent. He emphasized that Governor Aicent Alia's administration remains committed to supporting the less privileged. Speaking during a food distribution event at the Benue State Correctional Center in Yaiko, Makurdi, the All Progressive Congress Benue State chairman Benjamin Omali highlighted the significance of the sacred bonds. noting that Ramadan and Lent bring divine blessings and mercy, stressing that the season provided an opportunity for both personal and societal transformation, strengthening one's relationship with God and others.
That at this period, period of Ramadan, which have concerned Christian fasting. During this fasting, the Christian community has started to give alms and support the less needed. So, in conjunction with His Excellency Good Work from Benin State, we as a member of the APC have come here to share our love to our brothers and sisters to complement the good work of His Excellency, the Executive Governor. And you can also know a man who have come to show love for his people and to reduce poverty in the nation. And we're here to also imitate the good work of them.
He further stated that this period is a time for reflection, self-improvement, and renewing of one's commitment to their faith by embodying noble values, encouraging the inmates to remain hopeful, emphasizing that their past does not define their future. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has hinted that the Electoral Act 2022 will be amended to include statutory delegates in political parties' primaries slated for next year ahead of the 2027 elections. Akpabio spoke in Abuja says during a meeting with the leadership of the Nigerian Bar Association. The Senate President says the omission of statutory delegates from primary or political parties in the Electoral Act was a mistake that must be corrected before next general election. Vice President Kashim Shettima says the national economy is on the path of sustained growth. He made this known when the President Bola Tinubu hosted the leadership and members of the House of Representatives to iftar at the new banquet hall of the State House in Abuja. Kika Lomo Okere has the details.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says the government will create a Nigeria where every citizen could thrive. He therefore called on the leadership of the National Assembly to uphold their sacred responsibilities by prioritizing unity and national development over political decisions and partisan interests. Speaking on behalf of the President, he further assured Nigeria that the government's economic policy is yielding results.
I want to commend the Speaker and the leadership of the House for providing stability to the House. There can never be peace without development. There can never be development without peace. The peace in the House is a welcome development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of Mr. President.
Earlier, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, thanked President Tinubu for the invitation to break fast with him and for always showing respect and concern for the House of Representatives. He assured the President that every member of the House of Representatives is in support of his administration, noting that the policies of the government is for betterment of the people and Nigeria as a country. On behalf of the House, the Speaker donated the sum of 705 million naira, which he says is for a 6-month 50% deduction from their salaries to augment the humanitarian engagement of the President and support vulnerable people in the country.
We show our concern to the entire people of Nigeria that the predicament they were in, we also felt it. And because of that, we took a resolution that from July 2024 to December 2024, we will sacrifice 50% of our basic salaries. So that we will now set that money aside and contribute and donate to you so that you can also use it to look at the targeted areas in Nigeria where we have vulnerable people who are in need of food, shelter, accommodation, clothing, and what have you. We leave it to you to decide on where you want to intervene. But it is a symbolic contribution from the House to show you, as well as show the whole entire nation, that the passage of that particular period was being felt by each and every one of us.
Kike Lomo Okeri, Global Television News.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has revoked the land of the People's Democratic Party National Secretariat, which is situated in Abuja. Wike issued the revocation notice in the letter dated 13th of March 2025, titled Notice of Right of Occupancies with file number MISC 81346 in respect of plot number 243 within Central Area District, Abuja. It was signed by the Director Land Administration FCT Chijoke Nwazweze. The Adamawa State Government, through the Poverty Alleviation and Wealth Creation Agency, has commenced a technical skills acquisition and trade program for youth and women. This initiative is designed to empower participants with essential skills, enhance human capital development, promote educational advancement, and create sustainable economic opportunities for individuals and community across the state. As part of Governor Almadu Umaru Fintiri's commitment to fostering skills development, reducing unemployment, and promoting self-reliance, the Adamawa State Government has resuscitated and revived the 10 well-equipped skills acquisition centers strategically located across the state. These centers serve as a hub for vocational and technical training, ensuring that beneficiaries acquire hands-on expertise in various fields that are critical to economic growth and self-sufficiency. The Benue State Government has reiterated its commitment to ensuring the security and welfare of its citizens, particularly those affected by boundaries disputes and conflict between herders and farmers in Kwande region. This was the key message from a high-level security and boundary meeting conveyed at the instance of the Governor of Benue State, Hyacinth Alia. Felicity Ndere has the details.
During the meeting at the Government House Makudi, the Take Kwande Engineer Timothy Ahili and the Chairman Kwande Local Government Honorable Vitalis Neji pointed out that apart from the constant farmers-herders crisis, the issue of illegal mining activities also play a major role in the crisis within the area, and further commended the state government for its proactive steps taken to resolve the conflict while calling for permanent solution to ensure peace returns to the others.
Faced with a lot of attacks at least once a week, killing, burning houses, and we don't really understand because where we are residing is Benue State.
We know our problems with the Tapu people, and yet we are attacked. And these people that do attack us don't fly. They come on land. We are thinking that yes, if we begin to interact with the Tapu local government council and we sit and talk, it might help even the security situation.
Governor Hyacinth Alia, represented by his deputy Sam Odi, reaffirmed the government's dedication to safeguarding the people of Benue State, stressing that the administration remains unwavering in its responsibility to ensure the safety of its residents. He assures the affected communities that efforts are being intensified to restore peace, allowing displaced persons to return to their ancestral homes and resume their farming and other activities.
We are not resting on our house. We call on stakeholders within the Kwande geographical location. We call on Benue people wherever they are to note that this government has not and will never abdicate her responsibility to secure the good people of Benue State. It is our determination to do so, knowing fully well that the primary duty of government is the welfare and the security of the people.
As part of measures to implement the resolution reached during the meeting, the Benue State government says it will set up a communique drafting committee to outline actionable strategies. The committee will forward this strategy to the relevant authorities for implementation. In Makudi, Felicity Ndere, Global TV News.
As we end the Global TV AM news, let's take a look at our top stories. The House of Representatives resolved to probe allegations about Standard Organization of Nigeria's reversal of its decision to shut down 18 companies found wanted in the production and distribution of substandard building materials, especially manufacturers of irons, rods. Well, that's the news on Global TV AM News. Kindly follow us across all our social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. You can download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcasts. I am Godwin Sunday. Thank you for watching.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back. It is right now an open secret that President Bola Tinubu has finally declared a state of emergency in Rivers State and suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara-Manuel and all members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. Joining me to talk about happenings in the state and by extension the state of the nation is Professor Abubakar Ibrahim, who is a political analyst, and you're welcome to the show, Prof.
Yeah, thank you and good morning.
All right, Prof. First, what do you make of the political situation in Rivers State as it stands right now and the president's decision to suspend a sitting governor that is duly elected by the people?
Well, we have to take it from dimensions. The crisis in Rivers State has been there for almost 2 years, since 2023. No forms of mediation has come out of it because it is a PDP, APC affair, but mainly PDP affairs. Nobody has been reprimanded. No form of mediation has been done by the presidency whatsoever. Instead, it has been somebody hijacking the judiciary, which is also run by the presidency, and leave the state in its own gap just because I will deliver the whole state to you in 2027. Coming into it and what has happened of recent, you now look at it as an issue of interest. What is the presidency interest in Rivers? And who is the peddler of this crisis? The peddler of the crisis is the minister of the FCT. What have you done to reprimand him? Is the minister of FCT bigger than the whole of Rivers State? The answer is no. So if it's not bigger than the whole of Rivers State, what is supposed to be done? Then coming back to the emergency, if the pipeline has not spilled or got blast, which has some special interest of Mr. President, I don't think the emergency will take place.
So, Prof, you're saying invariably that it was due to the fact that there was a bomb blast that led the president to invoke chapter and section 305 of the Constitution, even though some constitutional lawyers have come out to say that the decision of the president is not in tandem with the constitutional provision right now.
When you say the Nigerian oil and gas pipeline, what is the interest of Mr. President on that pipeline? Who are the contractors? Who brought these contractors? What is the major stake on that project? Then we can start discussion from there. So, ever before he became the president, was he having anything, partnership to do with that pipeline? Or has any stake on that pipeline project? So why would somebody come to blow it off now? So it's a subject of interest.
Well, yeah, Prof, but again, looking at this whole conversation, to an extent, we've seen no group have come out to claim responsibility for the vandalization of the pipeline. No group have come out to say that we take responsibility for this.
No.
It could be mechanical error. It could have been a human error. It could have been anything would have caused the pipeline to explode. And this is not the first time a pipeline is exploding even across the country.
Very good.
So why the haste, or what, in your own opinion, why the sudden haste, even for the presidency to want to all of a sudden declare state of emergency in Rivers State when there are other ways of addressing the pipeline vandalism? Even if you're coming from the point of the NSCDC, the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, you have spoken to them to carry out an investigation to know what transpired.
It is not an issue of what's transpired. Guys, have you ever stayed where somebody is being blackmailed? Mr. President is being blackmailed by so many people in his own cabinet.
Okay.
And these blackmailers are using every trick to make sure they blackmail him. Till he shake off these blackmailers, these internal blackmailers, he will remain vulnerable till the end of his tenure. There are people who will not succumb to blackmail, but he has already succumbed to blackmail, and he remains that person who has succumbed to blackmail till the end of his tenure.
So what do you mean by blackmail, Prof? What do you imply?
You see, in psychology, there is what we call a psychiatric harried, meaning that you are half-baked and proved to be a specialist. That is the position of Mr. President. And when you are half-baked, the other person comes down and hit a hammer on you, and that is what they are doing to him. The security perspective is that I can make you discomfort because I know some part of you. And that part of you will reflect in you every day till you take it off. As a president, he has not been able to take himself as president and not just a candidate. The day he recognizes that he's a president and not just a candidate, he will be able to take decisions that will move this nation forward.
So invariably, you're saying, Prof, that the president is being forced by his own cabinet.
Yes, most of the things that are happening are his cabinet. When somebody blackmail you to a spot where you don't have a decision of your own, accept that decision of that person in the premises that we are there for you in 2027, then you are already doomed.
All right, Prof, let's even move the conversation a bit further. Let's look at it from the security angle, which you have even rightly mentioned. The security agencies have not come out to say we have carried out AYZ investigation to arrive at certain conclusion that this particular group are responsible for whatever is happening in Rivers State. And if this is not properly curtailed, it could escalate into we having a near state collapse in Rivers State. We've not gotten that report. Even the president has not openly said that from the findings of the security operative, which is relying on, we've seen the president invoke certain section of the Constitution right now. Is there no fear right now that this will further escalate the political tension and security foundation of Rivers State as it stands right now?
Well, that is left for the Rivers State people because they have ensured and made themselves look like weaklers. And from the security program and processes we have in the country, the president rely on one person. And that one person is already a bought over. It's one of those who blackmail him. So if you are the national security advisor and the coordinator, the security coordinator of a nation, and you have the listening ear of somebody who is already eccentric, there is no way that any other security principles and concepts will work. The only two people he listened to is the National Security Advisor and the Inspector General of Police. The Inspector General of Police, who is supposed to have been retired since last year, but remain in office because there is a goose of Mr. President appoint me, and I have to sit down on that appointment till the day he decides to ask me to go, who is one of the blackmailers. And also the National Security Advisor, who is one of his blackmailers. So these two people spell whatever decision Mr. President takes on national security issues, without looking at the concept and principles of security as supposed to be applied. When this is not applied, what we see today is what we have to see. So it's major problem in the security network as at today is the National Security Advisor and the Inspector General of Police.
So what's the fate of the people of Rivers State right now? If the two elephants are fighting, it's coming from your house and all of this discombobulations.
To me, I will not want to say this is the fate of Rivers State people. But if I want to advise, I would say the Rivers State people should continue with their business or governance and forget whatever has happened. Remember that in 16th of May 2013, the same president who is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as a former governor of Lagos State, when Jonathan was imposing state of emergency in Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe, came out and stated that Jonathan has no right to impose state of emergency in Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe, because the people of Adamawa, Borno, and Yobe voted for the governor for the state assembly, not the president Jonathan. So when the people elected the state members, you as a president has no right over them. Can you put a state of emergency in Nigeria when Tinubu is the president?
Or governor, you mean?
When he's a president, even as a president, are we not having security challenges all over the country? From Zafara, KB, Castina, everywhere, even in the southeast. Has anybody imposed a state of emergency in Nigeria? So do we use this as a measure to say, Mr. President, you can't act. Go back home. Let somebody who has the capacity to act and come back after 6 months.
Well, that sounds rhetorical, Prof. Because
no, but that is the issue. They didn't vote for Tinubu in Rivers. They vote for Fubura. They vote for the deputy governor. It was not an election of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It was not a presidential election that brought them in. Remember, he won Rivers State in the presidential election, which was APC. But the same people, after voting for the presidential election where he won, voted for PDP for the governors. So why didn't they say the candidate of APC must win the state?
Well, Prof, it's a very, very complicated scenario. Even
there is no complication. We make so many things complicated for ourselves because we don't want to follow the burden of the truth. The judiciary is compromised. We don't have judiciary in Nigeria. We don't have a political party. We have a political platform. We don't have an executive. We don't have the legislators. You will never see any senator or House of Rep member that is going to speak on this issue. Never.
And what's the
they have been brought over.
They said they're in the know. The president has already informed them about the decisions.
What decision? Was it debate? At what point did they debate it in the House?
It will be discussed today.
How can you impose state of emergency already before you debate? No, where has it ever happened that the legislators has not debate on a state of emergency in the assembly, and you have already imposed it, and you are now saying you are going to do debate? Where did you see? Why do we apply a system where there is already election before you are campaigning? You take a decision has been taken, and you are now campaigning. After somebody has won election, that is when you are campaigning? How? How does this two scenario work out?
All right, so Prof, let's even talk in terms of the retrospective effect of this whole stuff in Rivers State as it stands right now. Let's go back and look at some of the things that have happened in Rivers State. Of course, said there's no smoke without fire. A lot of people have pointed the FCT minister as the smoke behind the fire of Rivers State. But first, do you agree with the submission that the Rivers State crisis is largely influenced by the person of Nyesom Wike?
Whether Nyesom Wike or no Nyesom Wike, to me, Nyesom Wike is not even an issue. To me, the only back I know, if I check his background very well, was when he was in the university and the Kaponto Ayek fraternity. That is all I know about him. To me, it's a talk. It's a trash. It's nothing to write home about. Intellectually, protectors, ideas, ideology, he lack all. He's not supposed to be a leader. How can somebody who was a court member, a confraternity member right from university days, if not for Nigeria, going by security scrutiny, how does he become the governor of a state and even a minister? How?
But Prof, are we saying this for a fact?
I am saying it categorically. He was there. He knows all the things he did as a member of Ayaka fraternity. And he cannot deny to that fact. So, these kind of people who comes to power, who is propelling them? Because it's not on his own. He can't stand on his own and now tell everybody in Rivers that they can be pockets. No matter the influence or whatever he has in his pocket. And how did he make what he has in his pocket? On riding on the back of the people? Can he tell me that the entire of his family ever had 1 million naira when he was in the university? What is his background? So, but because we don't check this before we say they are leaders, we just take it as one of them, of those things. But in truth and perspective, if he's not having those, you can't be bold to speak when you are not matched with what you are saying. So he has people who are backing him. He's one of those blackmailers too.
The way you put in the blackmailers in category and taxonomizing them is quite interesting. You started off from the NSA, then you moved to the IGP, and now we are at the FCT minister. But then the conversation again is that Wike, if at all he was a part of this blackmailers, like you've rightly said, and all of this, he has, to a very large extent, or to some extent, they've said that Wike is fueling the crisis, has been fueling the crisis in Rivers State.
But now he cannot fuel the crisis in Rivers State without being aided. He's being aided. If I'm doing something wrong and somebody reprimand me, I will stop doing it. But when somebody is supporting my wrongs, I will continue.
So as it stands right now, when the president is quiet about some of the things that Oyetola in Osun State is doing to the good people of Osun State by disrupting their local government elections in Osun State, and we're seeing Nyesom Wike almost replicating the same thing. Does this mean that the president quiet is giving a nod and supporting some of these actions by his ministers or political appointees?
You mean Adeleke?
Oyetola of Osun State. Adeleke is the governor of Osun State. We have Oyetola that is with President Tinubu right now. But some of the happenings in Osun State, in terms of political tension that we have in Osun State, has been said to be fueled by Oyetola to a very large extent. And we've seen him come out to tell the local government to chairman to occupy.
Oyetola, Arasigbola, who was the former governor of Osun State, they are all candidates of Tinubu. And Tinubu has special interest in Osun, and I will not give the reason why he has special interest in Osun today. But the special interest in Osun by Tinubu is the backing that Oyetola has in Osun. So from the Araile angle to the angle where we have today is the special interest of Mr. President.
So invariably the president's silence right now, can we say that the president being silent on the case of Oyetola and that of Wike is giving a nod to the political disruptions in
because Wike has the backing of Mr. President. He feels that he's a semi-commander-in-chief of the armed forces and even semi-security power of the presidency. So that is what is acting on.
All right, so Prof, let's take the conversation back to the people of Rivers State right now. Suspension for 6 months. Automatically, it means that there will be no new laws in Rivers State. So if there's even an emergency, Rivers State people will have to rely on the federal government to help them make certain laws to help them pass through that stage. Do you think this is politically healthy for the people of Rivers State?
Maybe you have not understand what has happened. Who is the administrator appointed for Rivers?
The Ibok.
Ibok is who? The former chief of
staff.
Naval staff.
Yeah.
And what is the relationship between Ibok and Tinubu? And why must he be a retired military chief? And what is the position of Port Harcourt or Rivers State to the Naval? NN Pathfinder, NN Onne, and the rest. So it is just saying, why didn't he bring a civilian to become the administrator? Maybe a retired permanent secretary also. It's because they want to amass the people of Rivers. Because Ibang just left as chief of naval staff, he still has his voice and his command. So that is just what is happening. So the Rivers people, the springing fear in them is a fiat of fear, driving fear into them to make sure that what they planned to happen should happen. So in 2027, they take a decision, they do whatever they want to do, and that is just all. All these are just for 2027.
Are you sure, Prof?
That is my take.
All right. Fantastic take, Prof. Still on Rivers State, state of emergency in Rivers State. Looking at it from all angles of the conversation, the Ijaw people have come out to say that they form the majority ethnic group
in Rivers State. And as such, they've attributed the bombing to some of the threats that they've posed to the federal government, saying we were this to come out to say that if anything happens to Fubara, should Fubara be impeached, Nigeria, and especially President Tinubu, will be shocked by what they would do in that instance. But let's look at this majority and minority issues in Rivers State. The suspension, will it be to the development of Rivers State, or do you perceive it to be for the development of the people of Rivers State?
Let me come to Ijaw. Ijaw is not a majority in any state in Nigeria. They are nomadics because they are fishermen, so they follow the water trade. There are minorities in
riverine communities.
Yes, Ondo, minorities in Edo, minorities in Delta, minorities in Rivers, minorities in Akwa Ibom, and even some part of Lagos. So when you want to take it up, you find out that they are minorities in most of the sections of the states. Even in Lagos, they are there in Lagos. So if you go to places like Ikorodu, go to some part of Badagry, the Ijaws are there. When you are coming from Ojo area to Badagry, they are there. So there are minorities everywhere. Where there are majorities, you can call them majorities, it's just Bayelsa. So anybody taking it as there are minorities and majorities in Rivers, I don't agree, because the Ogoni man, the Opobo man, and some other areas.
The map is very visible. The map has shown that to a very large extent the Ijaw people have taken a larger percentage of the
No, the Opobo man does not understand what the Okrika person speak. Let us not call it Ijaw. That is the mistake we have made all over the years.
Okay.
So what the Okrika person speak is different from what the Opobo person speak. It's only people who have not studied Nigeria that will come and say, all this script are Ijaws. The ethnicity, dialects separate a lot of these people. Even when the Ijaw person in Okrika speaks, the Delta Ijaw don't understand.
Okay, so
because of the dialects. It's just like when you come to say Fulanis, a lot of people say Fulanis are this, but the Fulani person in Kano speaking, that of Adamawa don't understand. Even when the Fulani in places like Bauchi speaks, the Adamawa Fulani don't understand. And when the Kano Fulani speaks, the Sokoto Fulani don't understand.
But they are all Fulanis.
Yes.
So we can taxonomize them as Fulanis.
Yes.
So in this case, we can taxonomize the Ijaws as...
That is why I tell people that because they don't know Nigeria, they come with ethnicity and everybody wants to answer to Fulani. They forget that we have the Fufude, the Fube. We are not supposed to call ourselves Fulanis any longer. But because of that sense of belonging, everybody claim I am Fulani. I tell people that Igbo as Igbo are minorities. Yoruba as Yoruba are minorities. Hausa are minorities. Because we have the Hausa Bokwe and Baza Bokwe. And if we atomize it, Hausa is minority in the north. And if you atomize it very well, Igbo is minority, because the real Igbo that we know as Igbo, there are no more than 6 to 8 local governments in the whole of this east.
Okay, so Prof, in this case where they speak, where we have the Afro-Asiatic speaking people of the Niger Delta, which let's taxonomize them to be Ijaw people. They've accepted their fate that they're Ijaw, of course, because they are close to the riverine area. Now you are trying to go to demystify the ethnic diversity.
Because that is why a lot of people are still fighting here to tell you that they are marginalized as Igbos. They are marginalized as Hausas. They are marginalized as Yorubas. Whereas the Egba man is not a Yoruba man. The Jebu man is not a Yoruba man. The Awori man is not a Yoruba man. The Saka man is not a Yoruba man. Let us not give ourselves headache to say, claim majority where there is no majority. In Nigeria, to me, everybody is from the minorities.
Prof, we'll come back to this ethnographical structure of Nigeria and also trying to find a balance around it. But this River State as it stands, let's say these are Ijaw people, although you said they don't form the majority, that everybody is a minority in the country.
Everybody is a minority.
All right, so this action by the Tinubu's administration, do you think that it will further bring development and progress to the good people of River State?
No, it's not bringing any development. Rather, we are going to have crisis that we cannot manage. We have not been able to manage what has happened in Odi, in Bayelsa State. It will take us time to rebuild Borno. We need psychologists, let's say, let the crisis in Zamfara, Katsina, and all the security crises end today. We still have to put all these people and rebuild them psychologically to become more human. So there is no way we are going to get out of this crisis where in River State we just start building crisis. We don't know how to manage crisis. The security agencies have not been trained on crisis management. Even conflict resolutions, mediation, the security organizations are not been trained on this. So when you have not been trained on crisis management and you are fomenting more crisis in the name of the people, do you think anybody that will be killed in Rivers today, the children are going to forgive and grandchildren are going to forgive the government tomorrow or the leadership tomorrow? No. What Wike has done is, if Wike dies today, his children are finished. His family is finished. That is what he's not thinking of. You should be a man that has developed templates and build legacies that you can come out tomorrow, and when they see your children and grandchildren, they will say that is that man's children. But in a situation where you look at everybody from head to toe and makes them meaningless and makes yourself a semi-god, you are building that legacy for your children and your grandchildren. So Wike has come to a point where his children will come to Rivers and they will be ridiculed. You are a Wike son, and so what? Today, he has all the security apparatus, yes. His children also enjoy that security apparatus. His family, immediate family, enjoy that security apparatus. But the moment he leaves, that ends it all. I will give you an example. I was in the same flight with Modibo, who was the Minister of FCT. He was announced to be removed as the minister. We were in the same flight. We arrived at Abuja Airport together. No vehicle to pick him. All those security, it's not as if he has handover. He was outside the country when the announcement was made to have removed him and replaced. I'm telling you, no driver came to pick him at the airport. It ends there immediately. And so you should know that the security apparatus you have today, the moment you leave that office, it's okay. If you die, it's finished. And that reflects on your children and family. The moment we know and rethink that what we are doing here reflects on our family, on our children, that is when we will understand how to build legacies and bring logical ideas that will rebuild the system or impact on the system. But the moment you make yourself that you are a hall of flame, then you make yourself, you will unrope yourself, delete yourself without anybody reflecting on it.
Well, Prof, I really want us to have more of this conversation, but I've been signaled right that our time is a fast spent. I want to say thank you so much, Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, for finding our time to be with us today on Global Morning.
Thank you very much, and you are welcome.
All right, we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, more conversation even on Global Morning. Please stay with us.
That global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back. Just in case you're just joining us, this is still Global Morning here on Global Television, and my name is Godwin Sunday. I'm being joined right now to talk about the state of the nation by Abdul Kadir Lukman, who is a public affairs and a social analyst. I will be talking about the state of Nigeria this morning. But first, you're welcome to Global Morning, Abdul Kadir Lukman.
Thank you very much.
All right, so first, Nigerians tend to enjoy a smooth ride, and all of a sudden the ride will now start reversing itself. For example, in terms of weather, we are still thinking about the weather is becoming, the weather situation in Nigeria right now, we said call it heat wave. It's currently hot. I don't know for you, Abdul Kadir, but it's hot out there. And
then we'll now see some form of, we have relief when we hear that by end of March, there's going to be some form of cold because the rains are coming and it's going to last till probably December or so. Heavy rains are coming. Relief for us. But then we now move to Rivers State, where the governors, Wike's drama, Governor Fubara, former governor of Rivers State, Governor Wike, FCT minister, and that of Governor Fubara field has led also to order the suspension of this and of the National Assembly, or State House of Assembly. And the president also has also come out to speak. We've seen comments upon comments from people criticizing the action of the president. Now, it's as if we're moving from one heat to more heat in the country, from the weather heat to the political heat. I don't know which other heat it's going to be meted on us as a people. But then first, what do you make of the situation of the country as it stands right now?
Thank you very much. I think for the weather, this is something that has to do with nature. This is something that has to do with geography. It deals with the structural, physical, and even the natural surface of the earth. So it can be that the weather is very acclimatized to Nigerians, and it may be at times that the weather may not be acclimatized. We have no influence to decide the nature of the weather that we may have as a country. But as an individual or as a scientist, we can do little in that regard, not much, since it is something that has to do with a natural cause. And back to Rivers State, what is happening in Rivers State, to me, it is not something new as far as Nigerian democracy is concerned. It's just a political disagreement between two parties, I think the former governor of the state and the incumbent governor of the state, which has led to the president to declare a state of emergency in the state. And for the president of the federation to declare a state of emergency in the state, it is not something new. It is in line with the provision of the Constitution. So the president has the right to declare a state of emergency in any state of the federation that has any issue against national security, which I think the case of Rivers State is leading to national security, insecurity, since it has caused the damage of national asset. So the president must act, and he acted in line with his constitutional responsibility.
Lukman, we've seen more crisis in northeastern part of Nigeria. We've seen banditry. We've heard about banditry. We've heard about the Boko Haram insurgency, even in the southeastern part of Nigeria. And recently we heard about the Lukarawa, I don't know if you've heard about them, that they were busy disrupting the peace of some communities in Sokoto and other parts of the north. But we've not heard of a state of emergency. The president only took this decision after about 2 pipelines were said to be vandalized by undisclosed group, and no group have come out to take responsibilities for this action. Don't you think to an extent that the action of the presidency was too hasty, even invoking section 305 of the Constitution?
To me, I don't think that what the president does has violated the provision of the Constitution. Like you earlier mentioned, Sokoto and some northern parts of the country, you can see the disagreement and the issues there. It is not as much as that of Rivers State. Why I said so is that what is happening in Rivers State is leading to national, is causing insecurity, more insecurity in the state, which led to destruction of a national asset. For that of Sokoto and some other parts of the state, there was no destruction of national asset. And one of the major assets of Nigeria, I think, is oil, which is in Rivers State, Delta State, and some other southern parts of the country. So the president has been sensitive that whatever happens to national assets of Nigeria will affect all the parts of Nigeria. But that of Sokoto, I think, is the problem is within the state, which the governor of the state and the federal government are putting hands together to address that concern. But that of Rivers State is a national matter that deserves national attention. And if the president did not address this concern, to serve as a national threat to all the federation, and we may not know where it may end. So it is better for the president to put on hold and issue a state of declare a state of emergency in the state for both the governor, the legislature, state assemblies, and all the political structure in the state should be put on hold pending on when situation is getting better.
State of emergency in most states is the prerogative of the executive, which is the president. But it has procedures. It's like Nigeria going for war with any country in the world. It has certain procedures that it must undergo before embarking on such wars. And part of this is the submitting of the proposed gazette, or the process is that the National House of Assembly needed to debate on that matter before the president can declare a state of emergency. But right now we're seeing a reverse of the case when the president yesterday came out to declare a state of emergency, and today the Nigerian Senate is sitting to deliberate upon the president's fiat. Is this not an aberration and a threat to our democratical ethics and ethos?
It is not a threat to democratic settings, but for every institution, for every corporate organization, for every corporate entity, which Nigerian government as a whole is a corporate body, it can sue and be sued. There are processes and procedures. But for national security, in the case of Rivers State, there are things that necessary actions need to be taken before we now follow the due process. If this declaration of a state of emergency was not made yesterday by the president, only God knows what will have happened this morning. So in that regard of Rivers State, necessary action needs to be taken, which has already been taken by the president. Then the procedure, we can now go by the procedure to the National Assembly to ensure that the president declaration is in line with the provision of the Constitution. So in this regard, the president needs to take necessary action to prevent the lives and properties of the people of the River State, not only that of River State, but for the entire federation, because from River, it may lead to any other neighboring community, and it may happen in any state of the federation. So this is like a signal to other states of federation who may have political disagreement or otherwise to trade with caution, and that nothing should happen to our national security. So what the president does is under his purview and is in line with his constitutional responsibility of protecting the lives and properties of Nigerians.
So you think this is not an aberration of the democratical principles? You think this will not set a wrong precedent for our nascent democracy?
To me, it has nothing to do with aberration, because if you may recall that during the administration of our President Olusegun Obasanjo, he declared a state of emergency in Plateau State and also in Ekiti State for national security. But in the case of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration, people look at this declaration on a political aspect, not looking at the national and the security interests of this nation. People were talking about 2027 election. I say, we are far from 2027. What we should concentrate and talk about is good governance, and that is what the president is trying to do to all Nigerians.
All right, Lukman, the person of Nyesom Wike has been accused by all and sundry as being the brain behind some of the feud that you have in Rivers State, allegedly. So he has even come out on a press conference to affirm his stance on the political environment of Rivers State. But right now, we've seen the president suspending a duly elected governor, suspending a duly elected House of Assembly. But he's not talking anything about Nyesom Wike, neither we even getting suspension for him, like a lot of Nigerians who wish that the president could address this. Do you think at this point that the president is being afraid of addressing Wike's excesses for political gains?
The president is not afraid to address Wike for excessive political gain, because Nyesom Wike is an employee of the president. He is the minister of the Federal Capital Territory. But in law, they said ignorance of the law does not avail an accused person. also, an accused person is not guilty until he is found guilty of the law. So people may accuse Nyesom Wike, but there should be an evidence to say this allegation against or this accuse against Nyesom Wike is nothing but the truth. For the State Assembly and the governor, the State Assembly represents people from their respective constituents. You may recall that the State Assembly also raised some allegation against the governor of the state for financial misappropriation and abuse of the law. This is a mere allegation. The State Assembly must also prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the governor has gone beyond to do financial misappropriation and even to go against the provision of the law. So a mere accusation cannot be on someone that he has done something wrong. If he is found guilty by the law, then the president will now say, Nyesom Wike, you are going beyond your purview. But for now, people are just doing a mere accusation. An individual can just put an accusation on you. Until it is found guilty, you are found guilty before that accusation will become a reality. You cannot just put a mere accusation on the minister and expect the president to react. Although there is a political disagreement between the minister, who is the former governor of the state, and the current governor of the state, Sim Fubara. But what we are saying in essence is that we need to be subjective. The minister of FCT cannot be a minister in the Federal Capital Territory and still have power over the state. The affair of the state lies in the hands of the governor of the state, lies in the hands of the people of Rivers State. Absolute power corrupt, absolute. Absolute power corrupt. Absolute power corrupt, but power corrupt absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is that there must be check and balance between the executive arms of the government, the legislature, and also the judiciary arms of the government. Let the people of Rivers State come up and say, Nyesom Wike, we accuse you of so-so and so-so. Then the law will take it, because Nyesom Wike can be sued to the competent court of law. Let him be found guilty. If he's found guilty, the president has suspended minister in the past. There is a Betta Edo, the minister of humanitarian. She was suspended. It is Nigerian that you see that Nigerian current minister of humanitarian service, Betta Edo, was suspended. You can have the case of Natasha in the National Assembly. She was suspended. There was allegation against the Senate President, which we are yet to see evidences of her allegation. So people that accuse Nyesom Wike have to come up with evidence to say this accusation against Nyesom Wike, he is found guilty, before we can convince, or the president will be convinced that really Nyesom Wike is going beyond his political purview.
All right, so let's even move away from the issues around Nyesom Wike. Let's look at the issue of the bill by the National Assembly to ensure that every blogger in Nigeria must have an office, then regulate some of the things that people say on Facebook. What do you make of this law, which has passed its second reading as at yesterday in the National Assembly?
Yes, for that law that was being established and is going the legislative process, to me is a welcome idea, because all people that may intend to have a blog or to engage in social media and other forms of communication will be registered, fully registered. Their information will be well known. People should not just go online or use blog to say what they want to say against government or against individual. People should take full responsibility of what they do and what they say on social media. So for me, it's a welcome idea if the law will pass the process of National Assembly, and it will also be assent by the president. Hopefully, it will be assent by the president of the federation.
So you don't think that this is in any way trying to gauge information dissemination, which will be at variance to Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution, which gives every Nigerian the right to freedom of expression?
There are different ways of expressing your interest without unnecessary ways. You will see many of the youths in particular will go on social media and say some certain words that are not true, that are not correct. People talks without a good mannerism. People feel to say what they want to say.
But they don't owe you mannerism to speak. Freedom of speech is enshrined in the Constitution. It is a fundamental human right. The Magna Cartas of 1215 have given every country that signed the Magna Cartas of 1215, every country that signed the Treaty for the United Nations Organization. It's Chapter 4 of the Constitution is very explicitly clear about the fundamental human right. You're saying right now that people go online to speak, to write, and to talk without some form of mannerism, with some form of care, without being having a balanced reportage. Now, all of this, we have an agency that is in charge of regulating the social media space. So why are such accounts not being pulled down? Why are such accounts? We saw that happen with Twitter, where people were using the Twitter to do some things that were not part of Twitter's regulation. We saw that happen in the country. So why are we not having a conversation along this line? Why do we need a physical office for bloggers?
You see, freedom of speech is guaranteed by the Constitution to every Nigerian. But we're in a situation that for political reasons or for some reasons, people go online, thousands of Nigerians. If you can regulate it, maybe people from different states of Nigeria will go online to say all sorts of things. Not only an individual, not a group of, individuals, but group of individuals. Every day in Nigeria, you wake up, you will see information that are not genuine. You will recall that there was information spread 2 days ago about the resident of the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, that the house was put ablaze. And in reality, it is not so. There is nothing of that nature. So, such information that people do spread online, particularly Nigerians, need to be regulated, and that is why this law is coming.
And we have regulation agencies. We have the NCC. We have the Nigerian Broadcast Commission. And we have other agencies that are saddled with responsibility of coordinating information dissemination in Nigeria. Now we're going to create another law for cyber. We have a cyber law. Now we're going for a data and protection act that is to regulate some of those things. Don't you think that these multi-faceted laws that we have in the country right now will still implementation and we will, to a certain height, we will not be able to implement, to suffer implementation of process? Don't you think so?
You know, it is well done saying that good two heads is better than one. When you have the agencies that are doing this and you now have another extra one, it's like introducing...
When the first one have not done what it's supposed to do.
It's like introducing a reinforcement. It is like a football team. You have a players that you have confidence in them that they can beat the opponent team. Maybe 11 against 11. And you see that those players are actually doing well, but not sufficiently well. You can decide to substitute the players and bring in a new player. So what the legislators are trying to do is to bring a law that will serve as a reinforcement, to reinforce the existing law so that people will not go against.
Look, man, we forgot that that does not mean the fact that the first law has not failed. The agencies that were created for that purpose, for those laws, have not failed.
Yes.
And nobody is being sanctioned. Nobody is being penalized. Nobody is nobody is even saying that at this point in time, due to XYZ, we're going to fire you. We're going to ask you to leave the office. Those laws have not failed. Those laws are still intact. The agencies are still intact. People get paid from those agencies. So why are we creating laws that have duplicating roles in the country as it stands right now? Is it to punish the youth?
It's not to punish the youth. Let me give you an instance.
All right, please.
A global television is a communication institution, agency that disseminates information. It's basically about information, to give people information, to receive information, to disseminate information. But as a corporate entity, you cannot just disseminate information without making your findings to know how genuine these informations are. If you go against the provision of those laws to disseminate information that are not correct, the government or people will hold you responsible. because you are a corporate entity, you have been registered, you have the laws that guides you. So also, Global TV cannot stop any individual or organization from establishing their own TV stations for the purpose of disseminating that information. Rather, doing so will enable us to have more TV stations that will provide information to the Nigerian populace. So it is the same thing with a TVC, AIT, and other TV stations. Don't forget that Nigerian has Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA, who also disseminate information. But it is not sufficient. Nigeria will not all rely on the NTA to have news. We have Global TV, which is doing very well. And also Global TV cannot stop any group of individual that may intend to set a TV station for purpose of information dissemination. So what this law is trying to do is that we are not stopping the existing law, but what we're trying to do is to come up with an reinforcement that will stop people from making ills where there are not information that are not correct, stop disseminating information that are not correct, because information moves faster than bullets. You cannot send bullet from Abuja to Taraba or to Sokoto or to Kano. But information, as I am with you, what we are currently doing, the information, we quickly get to Kano, we get to Lagos before a bullet gets to those areas. So information dissemination is something that is very important, that Nigerians need to know what to say, how to say, and what to say, particularly with this tension of insecurity in the country.
And these agencies are not doing it. I'm particular about the agencies. You know why I'm particular about the agencies?
Yes, as I rightly said, the agency are doing it, but we need more.
So we need more of the agencies.
No, we need more of laws.
Of the laws that we so look on the laws that we have right now. Have any of the agency complained that the law is not sufficient?
They are not complaining, but we think because of the.
Or the National Assembly think that it is not sufficient.
The National Assembly think because of the current situation in the country.
Which situation are we in the country?
People comes online to say what they feel, to say whether they are genuine or not genuine. They think because they have freedom of information, freedom of expression, so they can express themselves at any time, even with words that are unguided. So National Assembly think it would be better for us to establish a new law that will reinforce the existing law. So that is what National Assembly thinks.
So the laws that we have before now that have not been fully implemented by agencies of governments, departments, ministries, and parastatals of government. So automatically those laws that have not been enforced, what's the guarantee that if the previous laws have not been enforced, that this one that the National Assembly is going to come up with is going to be enforced? Is there a guarantee for it?
We cannot give 100% guarantee.
So we're still going to expect more enforcement laws?
No, we will not expect more enforcement law until this existing one has come to being. When it's come to being, if there is a need for more enforcement law, we do. Circumstance should determine what we should do and what we should not do. Remember, yesterday this law was not brought for debate with National Assembly, but because of the current situation of the country, that is what necessitated the establishment of this law that is currently in the National Assembly. So our situations determines what we do day by day. If it guarantees or it enables us to create another law, if that will bring peace and security, stability in the country, then the National Assembly will do and the President will assent to the law.
Okay, so in this case, once the law is being assented to, and the agencies that are supposed to be the spies on the internet to regulate activities within the internet space, and they're still not doing their job, won't this bring us back to square one, which we are trying to avoid initially?
Yes, if this law has been assented by the President, there should be a conference of all the sisters agencies to come together and make a provisions, a headway on how to reinforce and take this to take their responsibility very seriously. Because as you rightly said earlier, if we are to be subjective, it's not that we don't have those agencies, those institutions, but at times there is not a strict compliance of those provisions. So those agencies must take responsibility of their duties. Why is this agencies being established? They need to be reminded, they need to be retrained, they need to be reoriented on their responsibility, that this is why these agencies are being established, and you must act according to the provisions of your establishment, to the provisions of the law. I think that would be another headway for us to have a better regulatory body.
I thought you would be recommending that at least directors and PAMSEC within those ministries are supposed to do some of the AYZ which they are being assigned to do because they failed. They should rather step down or should be redirected, or they should be posted out to other agents. I thought that would be a recommendation.
Let me give a little example, a small example. You see, the Nigerian police force, by the provision of the Constitution, has all responsibility to protect lives and properties of all Nigerians. But there is still an establishment of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. There is also Nigerian Correctional Service. What I'm trying to say is that Nigerian police has a constitutional responsibility to discharge the duty which the NCDC may discharge, or the Nigerian Correctional Service may discharge, or the Nigerian Immigration may discharge. But because of the division of responsibility to have effective implementation of this provision, that is why the establishment of NCDC has come to being, the Correctional Service and other sisters agencies. If not by law, the Nigerian police has the right, the constitutional responsibility to discharge all these duties that other sisters agencies are discharging. Like the EFCC. EFCC also have responsibility to discharge some duties that the ICPC are discharging today. But because of division of responsibility to ensure effective service delivery, that is the essence why this sisters agency has been established. So also, that is the reason why this law is also being discussed at the National Assembly, so that it will serve as a reinforcement to support other sisters agencies.
Even though, like you've mentioned, the EFCC, even though the EFCC have overlapping functions with the ICPC, we still have cases of fraud in the country.
Yes,
we still have cases of embezzlements in the country, financial inappropriation in the country. Those conversations are still there, even though we have EFCC. We still have cases of selected prosecution. We still have cases of alleged prosecution without trial, which we call media trials in the country. And we still have the EFCC, the ICPC, the police. Now, because their functions overlap. So I'm saying this to say that if the functions of a lot of these agencies overlap, is it not best that we marry some of these agencies together to have more robust outing than having a duplicated function and having low productivity, just like what we're having with this law right now? Why don't we merge it with already existing laws and amend those laws to accommodate these new provisions instead of coming out with new laws in the country? So for effective implementation, that's my concern for the development of Nigeria.
You may recall that the past administration of President Buhari intend to merge some of the ministries from two to be one. Or maybe he has merged like...
Tinubu has done it. Tinubu came and did it. He mentioned a lot of ministries together. Okay. Taking out Ministry of Sport and also making the National Sport Commission.
He also created
Ministry of Tourism.
Ministry of Livestock
Development. Yeah.
So the essence of creation of that livestock development, ordinarily it should be under the Ministry of Agriculture. But the essence of creating is for them to also manage that line of livestock and development. So you cannot say that the establishment of Ministry of Livestock, it has nothing to add to the development of Nigeria as a nation. So also that law also, the National Assembly did not just come up with the law. There are reasons. The reason is for more reinforcement to ensure that the existing one continue to work while this new one also continue to work. So establishment of another law does not stop the existing law from being in existence. It doesn't stop it from working. The both can work together collectively. The rationale behind it is for us to have effective service and delivery, which I believe by the establishment of that law, if it is enacted into law, we'll have more effective service delivery, more effective regulations.
All right, let's move on to other conversation even this morning as we talk about the state of the nation. There is a very interesting conversation around the data capturing in the country right now. You said the EFCC, the NCC, which is the NIMC rather, the NIMC national ID card, your National Management Identification Management Commission, that's NIMC, and also we have the passport, Nigerian from Immigration Office, and all of this. Then we all of this to get your driving license, you do capturing. To get your national ID card, do capturing. To get your international passport, you go for capturing. To go to your bank to get your BVN, you must go and do capturing. And looking at all of this capturing syndrome in Nigeria, what do you make of this? Is it time for us as a people to start talking about a single data capturing system that can make our information dissemination to be more effective? Or what's your general take on this?
Yes, in that regard, as you earlier mentioned, we have different agencies, the NCC, the National Identity Management Commissions, Immigration, and so on. But it is important for Nigerians to realize that we need to have a unified central database, which will be called the National Unique Number. And instead of us to establish National Unique Number, we already have National Identity Number, the NIM. This unique number can be served as our bank account number, it can serve as our phone number, it can serve as our international passport number. What you need to do if you are using MTN line or Glo network, you just get a recharge card from that your network provider and recharge that your national identity number. Let it be a unique number that carries all information, that contains all information about individual. I think this will be a headway and to stop us from having a duplications of activities by different government agencies. The national identity number can serve as our bank account number. Even if you may like to have different account with different bank, there should be a way that it will serve as our bank number, it will serve as our BVN number, it will also serve as our phone number. So Nigeria need to look inward to see a way that we can have a central unified database.
All right, so finally, before I let you go, this conversation in the country about Nyesom Wike. Let me start with Wike, I will still end with Wike. Revoking lands licenses in Abuja. We've seen that of NUC will be revoked, has already been revoked. That of NNPCL, that of INEC, that of PDP, and a lot of properties are being revoked. What do you make of the revocation so far? Is it a welcome development for the growth of the Federal Capital Territory?
Thank you very much. For me, the revocation of land has a process, and also for someone to acquire a land also has process, because the land, there is a Land Use Act, and also for you to have access to land, there is a ministry, there is an agency, the Federal Capital Territory Administration, who manage the land at the FCT, and it is under the purview of the Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister cannot just wake up a day and say we are revoking the land of a global TV or TVC or any of the government institution without having a legal backup. So for me, those institutions that they may revoke or they are revoke their land, they should follow due process. They should ensure that there is a fully and duly documentation. The processes must be followed on how to acquire that land. We have about thousands of land in the Federal Capital Territory. Some of the lands are not revoked. It means that the due process was followed for them to acquire that land. So for those agencies that their land have been revoked, they should ask and know what is wrong and what it is. And if they found that the information acquired the land document is genuine, they can decide to sue the Federal Capital Territory administration, because it is not Nissim Wiki that is revoking the land, it is the FCT administration. So they have the right to sue the FCT administration for revoking their land. And at the first instance, the FCT administration are the one issuing this document. So are they the one, are due process being followed? If due process is being followed, then there is no reason for FCT administration to revoke this plot of lands.
Interesting way to say. Thank you so much, Abdul Kadir Lukman, for finding our time to be with us even on Global Morning today.
It's a pleasure.
And I hope when next minute you'll be available for us.
By God grace.
All right. Well, this is how far we can go today on Global Morning here on Global Television. Remember that you can join the conversation on our various social media handle displayed on the screen right now using at Global TV NG to be part of the conversation. And you can also download the Global TV mobile app on Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcasts. I am Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Till I come your way again, it's bye for now.